Hello. I'm trying something a little bit different for the R's because I've already had one go at this. I did a recording directly after yesterday's one. Oh no, not yesterday's one. The last one, the Q's Quake, and didn't work out quite how the uh, the weather wasn't being kind to me. The sun, bit harsh, and also for the last 5 minutes there was a car alarm going off in the background. And while I was recording, it was really off-putting. But and I was sort of really complaining, like being a real bitch about it, and it was sort of off-putting. But then I finished recording, and watched it back, and you couldn't hear the car alarm at all. It's just me moaning about a car alarm couldn't hear. So I thought I'd try this. I'd try a bit of. I've done lots of experiments with lighting. I mean, because I think this may, if this ends up being uploaded, this may well be the very first ever artificial light video that I've ever made. I had to do a few experiments to sort of with light sort of lamps and things, just old lamps without shades and stuff like that. But I'm not convinced that the camera on this computer works well in low lights because it tends to lose synchronization between the vocals and the picture. But I think that's just something I'm going to have to live with, really, unless I sort myself out a proper pro lighting rig. But and also I've got a light on this side, on my left hand side, with no shade. It's just a bare bulb, so I'm looking a tad sweaty. I'm not actually that sweaty. I might be like on the sweaty curve. I might be a bit closer to the apex than the norm, but I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm no Lee Evans, put it that way. Got a drink this time because it's later in the day. I'm a bit knackered. That ain't piss. Just wondering. Of course, you weren't wondering, were you? No one was wondering. Paranoid. Right, R's. Yeah. Also, I had actually forgotten two games that were in a different pile. I had all my R's together and totally forgot these two games I had. And I thought, can I be asked to tack them onto the end or onto the beginning? I thought, no, sort of my sense of order got the best of me. I thought, no, I'm going to have to do it all again because I wasn't that happy with the... excuse me, wasn't that happy with the video anyway. So I'm going to just do it all again with this new setup. Ray trace. Oh, I think now the light's different. You're going to get reflections and stuff. It's never ideal. But anyway, Ray Tracer. This is one of the games I forgot about. Does it block out the light? Yeah, I'll do it then. This is one of the games that I forgot about. It's not my favourite, to be honest. Ray Tracer. I don't know. Obviously, it's a racer along sort of more towards the arcadey end, but really don't like. I mean, there's arcadey handling. It's smooth and all that. I quite like the. I can hold it without getting reflections. I quite like the tracks and the handling, but the handling is obviously really arcadey. But what really puts me off is the sort of the collision, the way the cars react to collisions, and the way that you can't actually go off the track. There's like this invisible wall between the sort of the where the curb is on the roads. And you just sort of bounce off it like a bumper car. It's really odd, really off-putting, and the way the cars react to collisions just puts me off. But I mean, it's arcadian, it's fun, but that sort of takes me out of the moment when you just sort of there's no realism in the collisions at all. But it's Ray Racer. It was only a charity shop purchase, and it's there for a bit of variation in my collection because that's what I like to have variation. See that? Yeah. Right. Raiden Project. yeah, it's sort of a little shooter compilation of Raiden 1 and 2. It is, yeah, Raiden 1 and 2. Yeah, two classic shooters, 2D shooters. My preference is for probably number 2. It just is a bit more polished. And which one's the more difficult one? I think the first one is the more difficult one. I think the second one's slightly more forgiving. I don't know, it might be the other way around. Whatever it is, my preference is for the slightly easy one. So, no, two good shooters. Just really reminds me of Gekio, like Shenryu. I don't know whether anybody out there can tell me if they had any, like people. The development teams were, sort of both were responsible for both. I don't know, but it's got this similar shots and power up systems, and like bonus, systems for collecting bonuses, things like that. But like spread shots. It's got the standard spread shots and sort of like the homing, or not the homing things, like the. In this one, it's sort of like a. It's like a sort of looks like a stream of piss that you can wave about, or just a dead straight laser. Gekio is slightly different, like a electrics, but no, they're good. And like I said, my preference is for. How do you like that? My preference is for. This is stupid now. Holding it down here. Oh, I can't get it right. My preference is for number 2. I'm sure there was more I wanted to say about that. Nice little game here, Rapid Reload. Very much in the vein of Gunstar Heroes. If you like Gunstar Heroes, it's pretty certain, almost definitely you'll enjoy this. Has a more, it's cartoony like Metal Slug. Sort of cartoony sort of manga visuals like Metal Slug. It's basically sort of a straight up run and gunner. I don't think it did very well. I actually wrote a review of this for this online magazine that a few of us were involved with way back, and I chose to review this. It didn't really do very well because it's a launch title. I think it is a launch title because it's number 4. It's number 4, and I've read a few launch lists, and it wasn't sort of referenced in the launch list, even though it's number 4. So it must be a launch title, but for some reason, whatever in this particular list that I read, it wasn't referenced. So, but it's number 4 anyway. So let's just say it is. And it didn't. I don't think it did well because it's sort of like a straight up 2D old school shooter. Very much sort of when this was new released, it would have been very much like the previous generation. And I think at the time everybody was all about the 3D sort of polygonal graphics, and this got forgotten about. This got overlooked because it looked dated at the time. It was sort of instantly dated, and it got overlooked. But it's come full circle, and I think the appeal, it has that sort of retro appeal that that is so popular now, and obviously sort of the people I'm sort of watching now probably would love it. But it's Rapid Reload. I think it's Gunner's Heaven in Japan. It's very, like I said, very similar to Gunstar Heroes. It's got the similar sort of power ups and similar sort of mechanics, game mechanics and stuff like that. And you have a sort of choice of characters and things like that. But it's a good game. It doesn't really quite match the heights of those 3 games like Contra. Sort of the equivalent Contra games. I suppose that would be. I don't know what that would be. Anything on the SNES or any of the Contra games on the SNES or Gunstar Heroes or Metal Slug. It doesn't quite match those, but it tries hard, and it's a lot of people watching will appreciate it. I think most people will appreciate it. But shall I get these out? Yeah, 2 together. Ray Crisis and Raystorm. I had this. When I made my video yesterday, I had this idea that it just these two games together, Ray Crisis and Raystorm. They sounded like 2 members of a tag team, like a wrestling tag team, The tag team would be called Ray Force, and the members, you know, I'd be Raystorm, and my tag team partner would be Ray Crisis. What the fuck am I talking about? I don't know, but that's just something that popped into my head yesterday when I was making my video. I don't know why I just chose to rehash it this time. But this was the first game. Why does it look so dark? Why does that change? I don't look quite so sweaty as I did at the beginning of the video. Something to do with this, the sensitivity of the lens on this camera. I bet my voice is all sort of is like all out of sync, all sort of a kung fu film. You know. Raystorm. This was a game I had first time round. I remember bunking off. Actually, I didn't bunk off. My lunchtime when I was at art college, doing my foundation, I went to Smith's. This is how long ago I went to Smith's when they were still selling PS1 games and video games, and I'd read reviews and I wanted to get it because I liked shooters, and there weren't that many shooters, not that many that I knew of anyway. Because I was a bit of a noob, but still am. And I went and got it at my lunchtime, and I really enjoy it. I do really enjoy it. It's sort of a 3D polygonal, traditional, vertically scrolling shoot 'em up. I don't think it gets so much love amongst the real sort of shooter aficionados because it's sort of come after what's the first in the series? Is it Layer Section on the Saturn? Is it what's Galactic Attack? Is this it's one of those shooters with lots of different names, isn't it? Those series, they all have different names, isn't it? Galactic Attack. I'm sure there's probably others as well. But I think it does get looked slightly down upon because it's in 3D, I think, But I do really enjoy it. It is sometimes mentioned it's difficult, but I've never really found it that difficult. I mean, if I don't find it difficult, then it probably isn't, because I don't have any amount of skill when it comes to shooters. It's you have a choice of these sort of red or blue craft. I've forgotten what they're called. They have names. These things always have names. That's it. Grey fighters. I knew they had names. Grey fighters. I suppose they were. Yeah, Grey fighters. And they both have the standard shots. Like sort of a projectile attacks, and then you can have lock-ons as well. You can sort of release. You can lock on to a certain amount and then release at the same time, and take out all enemies at once. And you can choose to make that manual or automatic. And the manual one, it's obviously harder to use, but at the same time, you got more lock-ons. So and I just like the visuals. It's really entertaining. Particularly, it's got a nice sense of depth in the game. It's there's a particular level which I always like playing. It's where you fly above this invading battle fleet, and you can lock on. You can sort of lock on to their, you can lock on to them. They're a lot of big capital ships. You can lock on to them and use almost like bomb them from above, using your lock-on weapons, and they shoot at you, and you can see their shots sort of coming up towards you from way down below, and then they sort of arc like that, and you have to dodge them. And I've always found that impressive because it has a really good. You get a good sense of scale from it. It's got a nice sense of depth. But I do really enjoy Raystorm. Don't enjoy Ray Crisis so much. I got this. When did I get this? I got this in a game station when they were still selling retro games. It was just dirt cheap. It's quite difficult to get hold of though. I think it's the sequel to that or the next in the series. I don't know. But it's just slightly ugly, I think, and there's a different sort. I mean, the gameplay is very similar, but I don't like the colour palette, and there's just generally it's a slightly uglier game. I can't really put my finger on it. The music isn't music is sort of a bit too weirdly sort of futuristic jazz, which I don't, slightly incongruous with the game. Don't know, it's out of place. Um, I've not played it that much. Maybe I should play it some more, and maybe it's a game that you have to get into. But it didn't really. It's never really hooked me in so much as a Raystorm did. I mean, Raystorm was a game I had and traded in and had to get and wanted to get back, and luckily I found it in a charity shop sort of the second time round. But I've never really had that same sort of bond, I suppose you could call it, bond with Ray Crisis, because I didn't have Ray Crisis. I don't have Ray Crisis sort of way back when. RC to go. I was a massive fan on the Game Boy of Super RC Pro-Am, and I got this because I sort of assumed it'd be along the same lines, and I suppose if you liked Super RC Pro-Am, you probably enjoy this. I mean, I do enjoy this, but it's it's not a simulation by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, it does sort of try to recreate the experience of using remote controlled cars from the perspective of the the sort of the user, I suppose. For instance, if Super RC Pro-Am, the camera follows the cars around, but this game's very much from the perspective of a person stood by the side of the track. So when the car goes around the far side of the track, it's quite far away, and it's quite difficult to see the sort of the way the track goes, which way you have to steer, which is sort of slightly takes a bit of getting used to, but as an experience, it's fun. It's the cars handle well. There are differences between the cars. I mean, you upgrade cars. You start off with sort of the basic bare bones one. And you can upgrade cars, and there are differences between the cars, and there's a lot of choice actually. But it's just really arcadey. See, look, every time I do that, I never get why that happens. Eventually, it's going to get darker and darker and darker. But a big downside of this game is that for some reason it chooses to use time limits. You play the campaign, and the first few races just piss easy, and you'll win them, or at least come second, and then progress through to the next round. And at that point, when you get a choice to upgrade your car, and you think, great, yeah. And then this is the first time I played it. I remember it was just really odd. I didn't really understand what was going on. I remember getting through to the third race, and I had the choice to upgrade my car. And I think I was second. I was about to finish second, but for some reason I wasn't able to cross over the line. What the hell was going on? I hadn't realised up to that point that the game uses time limits in like sort of an old school like sort of outrun type thing. So you have a sort of certain amount of time to do a lap. It's just really odd, and I couldn't complete the race. It's just a really strange thing. I never understood why that was. I remember whether or not that's sort of an idea that they use in remote controlled car circles. I don't know. It was just really bizarre not to be able to get to finish a race. I mean, especially when it's this sort of arcade. It's really arcadey. Why is it imposing that on me? I didn't really understand what the purpose of that was. But it's got like it tries to recreate the sort of sporting, the sort of X Games. X Games, is that right? No, it's got the cheesy American sports commentators and stuff like that in the background, and lots of sort of big flashing visuals, like bold, colourful visuals and stuff like that. It really tries to, it sort of hypes up the entertainment of the experience, but it's okay. It's not bad actually. I prefer Super RC Pro-Am, but yeah, here's a nice interesting one. Rescue Shot. It's a Namco light gun shooter. I've had this for years. It's only until I started making these videos I'd actually sort of read the back. I'd never read the back up until now, And I read it goes, a new and innovative experience for PlayStation gun games aimed directly at, and in bold it says, younger audience. I had no idea. It's basically a light gun game for kids. It's entertaining though. It's not strictly, I didn't figure it out before that, because it's not difficult, but then again, it's not so easy that you'd think this feels like a kid's game. This character here, this character here is called Bo, and it's basically a light gun game of narrative. It's like, I wouldn't compare it to. It's a Namco shooter. I wouldn't compare it to Point Blank. Basically, you're this character here. No, you're not this character actually. This character here is called Bo. One day he's playing at being a king for some reason. I can't remember why. There is an explanation. And he's got his crown on his head, but then he falls off a cliff. He falls off a cliff and knocks himself out when he hits the ground. And then when he wakes up, he's the crown's sort of next to him on the ground, but he's got amnesia. Doesn't understand who he is or where he is. And he sees the crown and he thinks, maybe I'm a prince. And then this friendly hunter turns up, and Hunter goes, who are you? And the Bo says, I'm Prince. I'm a prince. And the hunter is a bit concerned for Bo, because where he's found himself is a bit inhospitable and a bit of a dangerous place. But he lets Bo go on his way. He trusts Bo because apparently Bo's supposed to be a prince. But Bo's a bit dim, I think. I think that's the idea. Bo's a bit stupid and away with the fairies. But yeah, and the idea is basically the game's one whole escort mission, which sounds, me personally, I hate escort missions, but it's actually a lot of fun, because Bo, the idea of the game is Bo walks automatically. He basically finds himself in this sort of new and inhospitable environment, this sort of dangerous environment, and he has to sort of find out about who he is and where he is, and sort of find his way home basically. And he walks, and you have to protect him. You have to shoot everything around him, because there's all these things like bats and all these weirdos who are out to get poor little Bo. And Bo's a bit dim, so you basically have to help him out. You're like his guardian angel. And basically you shoot stuff, and there's a lot to shoot actually. You shoot stuff in the environment, you shoot enemies, and you shoot things in the environment for collectibles and things like that. Because Bo's got lives, and if Bo loses a life by getting hit by an enemy, you can replenish the life by finding fruit and food and stuff, which you can get from the mushrooms that you shoot. This does make sense when you play it, by the way. Sounds like I've gone mental, but you shoot things like mushrooms and plants, and they yield fruit. And then if you let Bo walk up to them without shooting the fruit, because I had to work that out. It took me a long time to work that out. Bo will eat them automatically, and then he'll get his life back. It doesn't actually give you much indication of what you should be shooting and who you shouldn't be shooting, because there are characters who turn up you're not supposed to shoot, and some you are supposed to shoot. I mean, it doesn't really give you much of an idea. You have to sort of figure it out for yourself. But you can shoot Bo to move him as well. I mean, like, he has to jump over logs, and you have to sort of shoot Bo's arse, and he'll jump. Or you have to duck under logs, and you shoot Bo in the head, and he'll duck. And there's a later level, I think it's 3 levels in, where Bo's on a raft. He's trying to escape from this giant dinosaur, and he's on this raft, and it's coming towards the camera. And he's got his paddle, and you have to dodge the rocks, and basically you have to shoot each paddle to make Bo paddle left or right around the rocks. But at the same time, you're shooting the dinosaur as it's charging down towards, following Bo towards the camera. It's a lot of fun actually. It's that particular level which makes me think maybe that's difficult. I mean, it took me a long time to get past that, but it's actually a good fun game. It's quite basic, and it's got a lot of charm actually. The music and the presentation, there's some really nice music. I think the main title screen, it's got this sort of funny sort of accordion music. But right, next 4 I'll get out together. You might guess. Resident Evil. Oh, that gives it away, doesn't it? Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, and Resident Evil Director's Cut. I haven't played this because I've played 1, so I don't really know what the... Actually, this should have come after 2, didn't it? Because it did come after 2. Was it the enhanced... new camera angles, character graphics, and difficulty levels. So, yeah, I've never actually played this one because I've played the original, but it's nicely collectible actually. Apparently, it makes sense. Shit, this is a long video. Yeah, the only one I've ever completed is number 2, but I think my preference is for this one. That's how it always seems to be with these games. When I've got a series, my preference often is for the not always, but often for the original. I like the atmosphere. I like the fact that all of the iconic it has more iconic scenes than the others, like that first encounter with a zombie when it turns around, and then the dogs through the window. That's another iconic scene, isn't it? And it sort of sets the benchmark and it sets your expectations, so you pretty much know what to expect for the sequels. And like, for instance, with the dogs through the window, when it comes to number 2, I suppose the equivalent would be the zombies through the window of the gun shop. So this one already sort of breaks new ground. And I like the atmosphere. I really get a kick out of the corny dialogue and the corny acting and stuff like that. And I like the atmosphere. I like the sort of the environments. I like the sort of the enclosed sort of corridors and things like that. I like the sort of the dodgy, almost like the wallpaper, like something out of The Shining, the dodgy 70s wallpaper. I like that. I like that sort of atmosphere it creates. I like the camera angles because they feel like it feels like sort of CCTV, or like spy sort of security cameras, or almost like sort of spy cameras. A lot of the camera angles make it feel really like voyeuristic and claustrophobic. And certain camera angles, you can imagine all the paintings on the walls. You can imagine all the eyes sort of opening up and someone peering through them as you're walking through this manor, this stately, not this big house, aren't you? Zombie-infested house. But obviously, yeah, 2 and 3 are really good. But this is my preference. Also, it doesn't look as shiny as the others, and it looks rougher, and it's sort of chunkier polygons and less detailed polygons. But again, I've played through about 80% of this, and it's the same with number 3. And like I said, number 2 is the only one I've ever completed. But so Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2, the only one I've ever completed, and Resident Evil 3. So, another Resident Evil game I have completed is Resident Evil Survivor. Bit of a guilty pleasure, this one. It don't think it did too well in sort of reviews and things like that, but I've got a lot of time for it. It's the fact that you can control movement. It's an eye gun game. You can control movement. That seems to be sort of the next evolution. I don't understand why there aren't more games like that. I suppose there are more in the Wii now, but I mean, so the actual the way you control your movement is a bit weird. You have to sort of tilt the gun down away from the screen and use sort of the 2 buttons on the G-Con to go backwards and forwards, and depending on where you point it and stuff like that, and you can sort of back up. Sorry. And it takes getting used to, but after a while it becomes second nature, and the fact that you can back away from some of the enemies and makes it really tense, and some of the enemies are rock hard as well. Like, it has a lot of encounters with Nemesis from Resident Evil 3, but and I like the replayability, because it's lots of sort of choices of routes and things like that, and also it does feel like a lot of the collectibles, like the ammo and the pickups and things like that, are randomly generated, because the first time I completed it, I can remember actually, I was at university, we were due to go to the pub, and I had all these people waiting for me, but I just literally put it on, and the downside of the game, you can't save on it. Can't save, you have to play through if you're going to. I just kept on going. I didn't finish my game. But No, the collectibles felt randomly generated because it felt like the game was going easy on me. It was giving me a lot of stuff like weapons and ammo and stuff like that, a lot of high powered weapons, and which I can remember going along that route and not finding. So to that extent, they feel randomly generated, and it quite weirdly randomly generated because it was quite noticeable how easy the game was going on me. But no, it won't be for everyone, but I like it. I think it's a bit rough. It's a bit rough, but it's a lot of fun. Another game. This is the other game that I forgot. It's Ridge Racer and Rage Racer. I prefer this to Rage Racer actually. I just prefer the simplicity. I mean, it's still a lot of fun. It's the first ever game, and it's a number one, isn't it? And this game is pretty battered in my case. So I've never really, I don't. It's not that important to me. I just keep it around because I do enjoy it. But the case needs sorting out. It's got cracks in it and stuff. But yeah, it's Ridge Racer. I won't say too much more about this, but a lot of fun. I enjoy it. And last three, Rival Schools. I won't lie, I've not played so much of this, but what I have played, I've enjoyed. I don't know if there's some sort of backstory and if it's based on a manga or something. I don't really know, or based on some sort of anime, but it's a lot of fun. It's a polygonal 3D polygonal fighter. So I just heard the door go. That normally means something. That's normally one of my cats wants attention. But it's a lot of fun, and there's a massive roster of characters. I mean, there's actually in this package, I suppose you could call it. There's two versions. There's the standard, the original arcade game, and it's an enhanced version. And I think the enhanced version has. They don't look that different actually. I mean, it's not the best looking game, especially up close. There's some properly sort of angular, chunky polygons, but there's more. I think there's more modes and there's more characters to choose from in the enhanced version. But it's a lot of fun. It has that sort of telltale like polygonal fighter lag, but at the same time the controls feel responsive, which seems quite contradictory. I just realised. Give me some more lights. Oh shit! There you go. I would like that. Yeah. It's sort of like you get to choose two characters, and each fight's like a tag team, and you can sort of. Oh no, it's you can't. You can't really tag in your partner, but you can. There's like tag attacks, which are really easy to trigger, and they're sort of the moves are really easy to trigger as well. It's the actual controls are really responsive, which is good for me because like I've mentioned many a time in the past, I'm not the best when it comes to combos in fighters, but some nicely realised characters actually, some nicely balanced characters, and I like the fact that a lot of it's in Japanese, which I always appreciate when a game like that, and a lot of the voices are in Japanese, and there's lots of Japanese visuals and writing, even though it's just basically quite superficial, but it makes you feel that they've done sort of like the bare minimum, which is a good thing. I like the authenticity of that, the bare minimum when they've sort of converted it. But right, I'll get these last two out because it's taking fucking ages. Sorry for the language, but it is. Let's have a drink first. Bit of a slot. So now the light get more light. I look sweatier. When the light goes down, I don't look so sweaty. See, look. See, look at that. You see that? R-Type Delta and R-Types. R-Types is basically enhanced versions or adaptations or basically ports of R-Type 1 and 2. And yeah, if you like R-Type 1 and 2, then you might as well get this, especially if you're a PS1 collector. It is really good. I don't like the cover. Cover looks weird. Cover looks like dirty, but it's not. That's just the graphics. Excuse me. But yeah, R-Types, R-Type 1 and 2. Preference, don't know. I think preference is for 2 actually. Although it's got this, I think. No, actually, no. My preference is for number 2. So it's R-Types. So it's not too pricey actually. You get there's a lot of you won't pay too much for that, and you get 2 games, 2 R-Type games. But my favourite shooter on the favourite shooter on the PS1 is R-Type Delta. I love this game. It's brilliant. I like it feels quite. What's the atmosphere? It's obviously a typical R-Type game with the typical R-Type weapons, and it's got the little. What's the name? It's not like an option, is it? That's in other games. I can't remember what's called. Thing, the little pod that you attach onto the front, and it's indestructible, and it basically flies alongside you. You know what I'm talking about. This is a long old video. This is a lot longer than yesterday's version. That was about 22 minutes. But yeah, R-Type Delta. I like the atmosphere. I like the artwork. I like the. It feels quite empty and surreal. It's quite quiet, and that's not a good description actually. I like the atmosphere. The atmosphere feels quite sort of restrained, and it's quite I don't know what that. No, this is bollocks. I do like the game though. The game's brilliant. I love it, but I like the. I've never actually got that far. This is a little sort of caveat, I suppose. But I've never actually got that far. But I love the. I've watched videos of it. I love the final level where it's this really surreal environment where it feels sort of biological and quite odd. The enemies are like there's a big bubble, and the enemies. It's almost like a not like a uterus, but like a. Oh, it's like a big bubble. It's like an egg, and there's all these sperms and stuff. All these, it looks quite. But enemies are biological, and it's really. And there's almost like there's water at the top, and there's all these. I don't know. But it's a great game. It's just I love the atmosphere. It's again, it's polygonal, but don't hold that against it. It's a lot of fun. I think I actually in yesterday's video I did a better job of explaining why I loved R-Type Delta so much, but what I said has just totally escaped me. But yeah, bollocks. This is a long video. I'm going to cut it off. I bet. I'm going to watch this back, and all the way through, my voice is all out of sync. After all that, after nearly 40 minutes of waffle of bullshit. So if this works out okay, I might try a few more of these because just purely for convenience, because it means I can make a video whenever I like. Don't have to rely on natural light. But anyway, that's irrelevant. That's not for now. This is the PS1 collection video. So thanks for watching and see you later.